Thank you, everyone. It's an honor to be here speaking to the Rotary Club and being in the California Ballroom, a very elegant place. Although I do see you guys have a disco ball, so something must get a little wild later on at night. Just for me? Okay, we can go with it. After the talk, we'll get into it. What is a home? That's kind of a question that I've asked myself, and I know everyone has their own mindset of what a home is, and is it a place? Is it people in it? Is it just a shelter? Is it a smell? Is it a color? I'm going to give you just a couple. Here's kind of the quintessential American home. You can find it anywhere across the states. Here in the Bay Area, we're kind of blessed with elegant Victorians. Around the world, here's Holland, where people, they live in boats. They live in tall, narrow buildings. The buildings are narrow because back in the day, you were taxed on how wide your house was. So the frugal Dutch would build narrow buildings so they didn't have to pay taxes. Here's a tree house in Hawaii that some people live in, I assume some hippies. This is in Turkey. People just carve right into the rock. And if your family expands, you have another kid, you just carve out another room and keep going. Here is in the Sahara, just kind of goat skins and blankets over sticks and rope. It's kind of the first mobile home. There's another 70s invention. There's a couple more. A lot of the tiny home movement is coming back to this. Then there's the igloo. We always find it so elegant that someone in such a harsh environment can take snow and make a house. Here's the same concept out of stone. This is in Italy. Here's an American version. This is Drop City. So they made domes out of car parts. Actually, they would take an axe and kind of cut into the hood of a car, cut a shape out, put these shapes together, and they were making a utopian society. These leaked tremendously. Here's an example. Here's southern Iraq. There's these people who live in the marsh, and what they do is just bind together reeds and kind of weave a house. I mean, this is on a bog that's floating, so they kind of have to make a pad. On the pad, they build another home. Here, this guy, I don't know what happened. Looked like his car broke down, and he buried it in dirt and built something next to it, and he called it a home. And for him, looks like it's working. Here's the bare essentials. Here's just a little shade in a hot climate. So myself, I had bought a piece of property. I went to art school, kind of graduated in glass. I did a lot of metal work, but I bought a condemned building in West Oakland, took that down, built out 7 condos in it, got another property in East Oakland, and that kind of switched my focus from art to building. I like the functionality of building and what homes could do. But I was kind of crawling back to the art side, and from making the traditional houses, I started doing shipping container homes. And then when you read and dwell that everyone's doing shipping container homes, I didn't like it anymore. So I started looking for other things that I could make homes out of. Make a little bicycle home, a home on top of the bike. Then I saw a dumpster, and I said, hey, I want to make a home out of a dumpster. So I took a commercial dumpster, I bought a dumpster brand new and converted it into a home. I realized that, hey, I really played with something right there. It was an idea that I'd gotten, and I wanted to do it, but I didn't have the money or the time at that particular moment. And then, 2 years later, I still wanted to make it, and I'd tell people, hey, I want to make a home out of a dumpster, and they said, oh, that's stupid, you're crazy, why would you do that? But then when I did it, I was happy, and it's kind of a good lesson for me that, if you really want to do something, you just do it, and you don't listen to anyone else. During that time, I want to just go back. If you can look right next to the dumpster, you see another little structure there. So at the same time I was making this dumpster, I'm also thinking about houses, different houses, not just around the world, but what's in our backyard. And I got an iPhone, and that iPhone for me was a camera. Here's the first picture I took with my iPhone. It was some people around me in West Oakland. There was a lot of homeless, and I was noticing these structures that they made. And I was thinking, they're not homeless. They do make homes. We just don't see them as homes. So I was noticing, and just started following and going around, and it kind of became an obsession of mine. And I would just, every morning, kind of wake up, go around, and look at the homes and these structures that people had built. And started to become enamored by their ingenuity and the way that they were able to take what was on the street and arrange it in a way that made a shelter for them. And this wasn't just a playhouse that kids do. This is a real home for people who are in dire straits. You know, some people were better builders than others. You see, you know, a little landscaping there when they bring, you know, walking back. Here's kind of the basics of homeless architecture. You got a pallet, you got a piece of plywood on the far side, a little cart that props up something else. Over that, you throw a tarp. And a lot of people sleep in that, even today. You know, the homeless people, they're taking our waste and making that the building blocks of their life. I mean, not just what they make their homes out of. Think of their income, that's all off of our bottles, our cans, their clothes, that's the stuff that we discard. Their food, that's the food that we no longer want, either pulling it out of dumpsters or getting donations. And I was just really kind of seeing them as this nomadic tribe, if you will, living in this urban jungle. I mean, you know, no longer did we have trees and animals, but we had buildings and we had garbage. And here's this nomadic group going through and living off of that. And with garbage, obviously you have garbage men. And one thing I would notice is the city cleanups of these homes. And I'll give you a quick edited version of one man and kind of his plight. This is Charles. He starts building. He's behind a cement factory here. That's one little structure. Gets a little bigger with time as they were dumping a lot of illegal stuff right around there. City comes in and cleans it out. He starts again with another structure. That goes on a little bit, cleaned out by the city. Starts again. You notice there's a little sign to the right there. Now they started posting signs. Public Works Department has deemed this site uninhabitable. You're asked to be moved. Didn't give them a location where, just, hey, we're going to come on Thursday. Anything that's left here, we'll throw away. If you want anything, you got to scoop it up, bring it somewhere. He came back, found his home destroyed, you know, a little bit despondent in that, but then he just starts building again. He has nowhere else to go. Build a home, that was cleaned out. Here you have another structure, it expands a bit. It's cleaned out between that last one and here. Another structure, cleaned out, another structure. Keeps going, and I would see this cycle not just with Charles, but with many people. And just kind of this endless cycle, and these people were getting pushed around. And you know, it was kind of sad, but then again, I was inspired by the homeless and how they built, so I wanted to build a home in one day for no money. That was kind of my prerequisite. I said, hey, I've seen these people build homes. You know, you look at the homeless people, I see a 70-year-old woman build 300 homes over the course of 4 years. You know, they really know how to build. So what I did was I would drive around to illegally dumped garbage sites. There's certain streets where they dump a lot of garbage, collect materials, bring it back to my studio, and here's my first home that I built. Mainly pallets. This is built around a queen-size mattress. Front door is a refrigerator door. The top's a camper shell. Then I didn't know what to do with this. Just sat in my studio for maybe 6 months, collected junk. I spent the night in it, a couple nights with the kids. But, you know, I didn't really know, hey, what am I going to do with this? It's kind of my foray into exploring this kind of urban nomadic architecture. And then one night, a woman named Sheila, here's a picture of her when I was sleeping with Oscar. She came by and asked me if I had a tarp. It's going to rain that night. I said, no, I don't have a tarp. Sorry. Walked back in, walked past my home. Said, hey, what am I doing with this? I should give it to her. So I ran back out. Hey, Sheila, come back tomorrow. I have a home for you. She kind of looked at me like, no, I just wanted a tarp. What do you mean a home? And next day, her and Oscar showed up. I handed them the home, a bottle of champagne, and the keys. And they pushed it off and started living in it. And that's kind of when the idea struck me. Like, hey, here's what I could do with these. You know, I saw the difference that it had in their life. You know, they're off the ground, so they're not wet. The rats don't run over them at night. They got a door that locks, which is very big. You know, you think if you just have a tent and you leave, you got to bring all your possessions with you, or they're going to be gone. I mean, you know, when you guys come here, you lock your door. 99% of the time you come home, your computer's there, your TV's there. But if you're living in a tent, that stuff just gets stolen. So they're kind of burdened when they travel around, kind of looking for cans and whatnot. You know, and it was fun for me. I mean, I didn't set out to save the homeless or anything. I just like to build crazy things, and this was something that was fun, that was crazy, that was cheap, and it had a big impact on someone's life. So I'd run out. Here's where I shop. Here's my Home Depot, a pile of garbage. You know, I come in, whatever I like out of that, pull it out, load it up in my car. Many shots. I mean, they call it midnight dumping. Usually it's homeowners or low, mid-range contractors that don't want to pay to bring it to the dump. They'll just dump it on dead-end roads or whatnot. So, you know, I get the wife, she looks around in it too. She's not as thrilled as I am with the stuff. Kids will have fun with it, but sometimes they're embarrassed. Paint, that's another thing. It's hazardous waste. People dump that all the time. So I collect what I want. I would get like a little pallet, attach wheels to it, flip it over, do some framing, again with pallets, with futon frames, with bed parts, whatever. Just some examples. I'll sheet it. There's an old jumper, you know, those jumpies that the kids use for their birthday. I found a deflated one and used that for the roof. So I'd finish a home off, and then I'd give it to someone. You know, here's Kelly and her man who now live in that. So then usually now I do a little run. I make about 3 or 4 homes, push them on the street, get them photographed, and then give them away. Here's Wonder, pushing her home down. Here it is in place. If you look at her window, you know, it's the first time in 15 years she could make a Christmas window, she said. So you see that, you know, how now she really feels she has a home. She could put her cards up. She kind of disemboweled a pillow to get the snow. The inside, now I found a bunch of pizza bags from Domino's. They keep your pizza warm and they can keep you warm too. Just cut them open, staple them in on the inside. You know, I'm just trying to look at materials and usage and how we can use these things in new ways, different ways. Kind of smelled like pizza, old crust and cheese for about a month, but that left. Here's what she was living in before, you know. That's Wonder, and now she has this house. So just more examples of some other designs. Doug, people in them, that's where he's living on the side of the street. Charles, that's the guy who we witnessed him going through the whole clean out with the Oakland City of all the structures he made. And just different ones. I mean, I've made probably 45 homes so far, and I give them away. You know, I tell people, hey, this is a gift, you use it. If your situation changes and you no longer need this home, you got to give it to someone who does need it. Because the first round that I gave away, that one with the blue roof, I gave it to a gentleman, and 2 weeks later he sold it for $50 worth of crack, $40 cash, and was back at the dealer's yard with pit bulls living in it. And then I kind of realized, hey, I got to watch this a little bit more so this stuff doesn't happen. I want this as a shelter for someone and not as a different use. Sweet Pea in her home. And just different, you know, just different styles. It's a washing machine door as a door. The roof, those are coffee bags. There's Iron Man organic coffee. I guess went out of business. They dumped a whole pallet of brand new coffee bags, the ones you put the beans in, aluminum. Works great for insulating and refracting heat. Other examples, here's Johnny. So I found a fish tank. So I made a wall out of a fish tank, a little window. You think it's, you know, maybe only, I don't know, Jay-Z or someone would have a fish tank in their home, but someone else can. And later on, it proved beneficial. A fire broke out in this home, cracked the fish tank. The fish tank released 30 gallons of water and put the fire out. It wasn't so bad, so Johnny rebuilt it, and there's his home. So he kept it. Raquel, here's where she lives, and you know, she makes it nice and neat. Could have maybe parked it in a better location, but you know, after the rain subsides, she can get to it. Niche, it's funny, I found a bunch of bed frames, and I put those together. One home out of all bed frames, but the home was short. So I had to go around looking for a short homeless person to be in it. And I said, hey, you might have been teased your whole life about being short, but it's going to pay off now because it means you get this home. There she is. That's her home, living in it. And then here's Greg. He's a guy we kind of have a little tit for tat for. He likes to build. So what he did is took one of my homes and made it double wide. So he expands on it. So we always joke. He's a little bit better builder. Here's the back. He put the fake bricks up. He's got his lounge chair. Inside, a little entranceway, nice place. He always got his candles and music, and he put some hardwood flooring in. It's a good one. I did a show in San Francisco, so I wanted to make a Victorian home, and this one took me a while. I mean, normally I could make a home in 2, 3, maybe 4 days, depending on the design. But this one with the roofs and the turrets and everything, this one took me about 3 weeks. And I'd set up to give it to someone already, and I couldn't find them. It was another couple when I had to give it away. And at that time, I went out and I found this couple and just started talking to them. And they didn't know that I was building these homes, but they were talking about tiny homes and how they had an idea and they wanted to build them, and I brought them in. She had just given birth maybe 3 weeks prior, and the kid was taken somewhere else because they were still on the street. So I came in and I said, hey, you like the home? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, it's yours. So after 3 minutes of meeting them, here they are pushing it away. It's kind of the interior, pallets. You see the wood floors. I mean, what's great about working small is you don't need much material. So if you just find a little bit of flooring, normally for a regular house, you think, oh, I can't use that, it's too little. But, when your thing's 4 feet by 8 feet, you can do all hardwood floors. Here's kind of how the pallets, how you can stack things in, keep things a little bit neater. Here's one, I found a big satellite dish, and you wonder, what do you do with that? Sometimes I find things on the street, I don't know what I'm going to use them for. I just bring them back to my studio, and then sometimes, 2, 3 in the morning, you wake up and you kind of get an idea. So I thought, hey, I'm going to make a roof out of it. Refrigerator door for the front door. Again, I had to find a small homeless person for that to fit inside. And then I think the biggest thing about making these homes, I mean, I'm kind of selfish in that I just like to make things, and I like to make crazy things, and that it can benefit people is great, but just meeting the homeless and humanizing them in a way, there isn't just this abstract person living under a tarp. You hear that, oh, okay, maybe they were born where I was born, or they went to school where I was school. I mean, we were all born kind of innocent children, and for one reason or the other, things happen. And they're on the street, and once you've been on the street for a while, it's pretty hard to get back. I mean, the people I deal with have been on the street 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. And just seeing how they're treated by society and seeing what options they do have. It's humbling. And the surprising thing about it is, I don't hear the homeless people complaining so much. I mean, I talk to my other friends and they're complaining about the weather or the traffic or this or that, where homeless have a little bit more philosophical view. Because they're out there, they're really kind of on the edge, they're really living a life that is, I don't want to say hand to mouth, in some ways it is a little bit hand to mouth, but they seem a little more learned as far as what's important in life and what isn't, and they don't get caught up in the little things. So just humanizing the homeless and hanging out with them has been kind of the biggest plus for me in this whole thing. I guess that's it in a nutshell. I just wanted to run through that and let you guys know about that. I've just rented a space in East Oakland, like 85th and just off International, where I'm going to start doing some builds, some bigger builds, some big workshops. So if anyone wants to come down and swing a hammer or drip some paint or something like that. I mean, we just had a big workshop with maybe 100 people 2 weeks ago. A lot of different varied people, whether, they're coming out because they want to help the homeless, they're coming out because they want to use recycled material, they're coming out because they want to do micro homes, some people just want to use their tools, some people, there's a lot of different reasons. This project kind of has a lot of tentacles, and if you guys would like to, you're more than welcome to come out and make some crazy homes. You can bring your garbage. Everyone with a garage, I'm sure, has scrap wood and all these half-baked ideas they keep telling their spouse that, oh yeah, I'm going to do something with that. Well, you don't have to. You can bring it down and we'll do something. So if any questions, definitely.
Let's thank you.
Yes, sir. Oh, thanks.